Did you know that 2/3 of marsupials come from Australia? Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy, you know. The only ones that come to mind usually are the koala and the wombat for me, and that's all I can really think of when I think of Australia. I mean, besides the millions of spiders. You might be asking yourself though, what does marsupials have to do anything with werewolves? You know, the Sigma chopper riding, shirt ripping off creatures of the night. Let me show you a little movie called Howling 3. Howling 3 it's an experience. The movie starts off with an Aborigine tribe, like they're dancing around a dead werewolf, and that's quite literally the start of the movie. And then it just cuts to some random part where you're just in the middle of like Serbia now, and there's just a dude, and he's like, ah. And then it cuts away. Like that's it. To like some like government building. I'm not sure. It never really like says like what they are, but it just says like on a computer, werewolf was sighted near village of Lavouch. And then it cuts to like these two dudes who are like who are talking to like, man, we gotta report this. There's werewolves.
Weird shit. I got a weird feeling.
Indigestion?
No. Fear.
It then jump cuts again to a class watching the video, and that starts in the very beginning with the Aborigine tribes, and then it jump cuts, and I'm sorry, you're gonna hear jump cuts a lot because that's quite literally what this movie is. It's just jump cuts to a scene where there's a science dude. I would just call him the professor. The professor like he's talking to the president, and he's like, look, man, there's other lycanthropes in Russia, and you know where else they are? In Australia. And the dude's like, wow, dog, that's crazy, bruh. He's like, can you say that to the camera? And then he like breaks the fourth wall all hard.
Why are we being filmed, Mr. President?
Don't let it bother you, Beckmeyer. We are recording everything here for future generations.
The professor then like talks to like some random like, we'll just call him science dude because he's a science dude. He probably has a name. I don't remember it, nor do I bother to look it up right now. Oh, were you ready for another jump cut? Because here it is. It jump cuts to a scene with a girl. Her name is Jaboa Boa or Jaboa. It's one of those. I might be saying it wrong. Here, I'll just look at the clip. It cuts to her, and she just gets slapped like hardcore, like 100, like crit, like slapped. And she's like, man, fuck you. And then she dips, and then the other werewolf people are like, what you say? And then they like drag her off, and it's not really dragging her off, they just kind of like push her down a hill. They're like, okay, now come walk with us. And then you see some dude that looks like Shao Kahn from the Mortal Kombat movies. Yeah, she like knees him in the nuts, and then she dips. Okay, are you ready for what happens? Immediately after dipping, they could have easily grabbed her like they did earlier, but they didn't, because she boards a bus, and on the bus there's like this dude, and he looks like Tom Kenny, but he sounds not like Tom Kenny.
Don't be afraid of me, my child. I want to help you.
And he's like a priest, and he's like, you know, I can help you. And she's like, nah. She says some stuff I can't say. And then jump cuts from the bus to a park bench where she's like just laying down. And these like a bunch of random like just drunk Australian dudes come up to her and are like, hey, can I smash? And then she like werewolves like growls at him, and they're like, oh hell no. I'll be ready for another jump cut, because now she's no longer in like a middle of a park, she's like by the shore. And this scene is hilarious because it makes no sense. Some dude in a beautiful car, he rolls up, he looks at her, parks his car, and he's like, he jets towards her. He's like she was gonna go somewhere. Like he just like legit no exchange was made. He just stares at her and he's like, fuck, and then he's like just starts running towards her. Wait, who's this dude? Don't be frightened. Literally all he did was pull up and just start running at her. Okay, so he's looking for an actress, but you don't just be like, oh, I found my actress. Let me chase after her. He's like, look, man, I'm doing a movie. I'm doing a really shitty, cheesy movie, and you know, and you'd be perfect. You'd be perfect for the role. He's like, you couldn't just walk up to her and say that. You have to be like full-on marathon sprint towards her. And then it jump cuts to you ready for another jump cut? Yeah, too bad. It jump cuts to a scene where it's like 3 nuns on the bus. I mean, you'll remember the nuns. The nuns are the chicks from earlier, from the camp, and they're dressed up as nuns, I guess, to infiltrate society. And like this kid is just like being annoying, and she like growls at him. It's pretty funny. So Jaboa Boa shows up to the set of the movie, and like it's like some like really like low budget movie inside a low budget movie, so it's fantastic. But like the entire time, like they're like talking to the director who looks like a bargain bin Alfred Hitchcock, dollar store Alfred Hitchcock over here, Alfred Hitch penis. looks at this dude in werewolf costume, and she's like,
They don't look like that.
she's like, that's not what they look like. And the dude's just like, yeah, whatever. And then she's like, I don't know what to do. And the dude, I'm just gonna call him the dude that picks her up, it was like, you don't know what a movie is? And she's like, no. And she's like, man, I'm like, it's a date then. I'm gonna take you to see a movie. And they see a movie that's literally called It Comes from Uranus. Couldn't have been more on the nose. And I'm saying that, but I make fart and poo poo pee pee jokes all the time. And It Comes from Uranus is just like, that's pretty funny. I liked it. That was pretty funny. While they're watching the movie though, she's just like,
It doesn't happen like that.
and the dude's like, all right, can you shut up? And then it jump cuts. You ready for that? Were you ready for the jump cut? It jump cuts to them sweaty in bed. Can you guess what they were doing? They're planking, because that makes you sweat a lot, or it makes me sweat because I'm fat, but you know what I mean. And then it cuts again to them still sweaty, and then you see her like with a major case of the 80s, if you catch my drift. You basically, and then, like, he moves like the blanket down, and you see like a pretty much like a C-section scar. That's where like they usually are, like, you know, right there. Anyways, it cuts back to the scene where there's the science man and the professor, and they're like, yeah, look dog, like there's like something. And then like he's like, yup, and then he takes a sandwich. Yeah, I didn't really have any other, there's like no other point made here, or any point worth talking about. Anyways, we're back on set, and she's finally like getting into her role, and she's like just screaming. Like, she gets choked out by a werewolf, and she goes, ah! After her like screaming, it jump cuts to them driving to like the after party of, I guess, for shooting the movie, and you just see the three nuns are like, that's where they are, motherfucker. Like, that's our gal. And but I'm gonna try and not show much of the scene, but picture this: it's strobe lights, a lot of them that hurt my eyes. Anyways, the strobe lights like seem to like piss her off, and she like starts to starts to morph. And I guess that's her trigger for morphing. And she's like running down the streets of like Australia, all like half morphed up as a werewolf. And then but after like leaving the party and all that, you see the three nuns like pull up to the party, to the function, dude. What is that one? Wait. Hey, go back. Why does that one look like Jonathan Galindo? It's assumed that they kill everyone. I mean, that you see everyone run out. So that's my assumption. Anyways, after running down the street, Jaboa gets like a concussion from running, and they're like, yeah, we gotta take her to her hospital. I'm like, we'll do that. And so the dude follows, and when she's in the hospital, they're like, check this out, dude. And they see her marsupial pouch, and they're like, she's an alien. And that's it? That's their first assumption? Like, you're a health professional? Like, you should have seen so many odd things in your life, but you're like, pouch? Psh, fucking alien, dog. So they call in the professor, and then like the dude that's waiting for Jaboa, he's like, when can I see her? She okay? And the nurse is like, yeah, dog, she's stable. And she's like, oh, she's okay. And she's like, no, she's stable. And it's like, all right, dude.
She's okay.
Stable. There's nothing you can do to help now.
So she starts to transform in the hospital, and the three nuns are like, uh-oh, she's goofing. So they're like, man, we gotta break her out of here before she like fully transform. And I guess their way about going about that is just like, you know, all the supposed guards they had, well, they didn't have any. They had two. There's a whopping two, and everyone's dead. They didn't even do their job. Everyone but the guards are dead. Anyways, the professor starts talking to the dude, and he's like, hey man, you gotta hear me out. Jaboa is a werewolf marsupial. And the dude's like, huh? And he's like, yeah, dude, like, and she's pregnant with your baby. And he's like, huh? I'm trying to make this as simple as it can be, man. There's not much to understand. She's pregnant. It then cuts to like a scene where like the camp that Jaboa is, and it cuts like the Shao Kahn dude, and they're like setting this like fire thing where they put like this really shitty like picture, well, two pictures like in a fire, and then it cuts to a ballerina chick. And this ballerina chick is, if you're paying attention, the Serbian werewolf, the Russian werewolf. Yeah, she doesn't like feel so good, and like this is the dude's response to not feeling so good. Why is that your first instinct? Yeah, you feel strange. Let me go ahead and gape your mouth with my 2 fingers. Yeah, it's very weird. And then like his head like pulsates, like it's very weird. What are those movements? I think you could do it. And then he just turns into the dude from Wall of Voodoo.
I get a vibration.
and he like does like a shitty like little drawing, and this drawing apparently is so like mesmerizing and beautiful to the ballerina that she does this stuff.
Come on.
That's how everyone has a waifu's like this dude. They see a drawing and they're just like. Anyways, now that she's feeling a little better to perform, air quotation marks, a little better, she starts to perform, you know, her ballerina act, and then she like just turns into a werewolf. She does a couple spins, werewolves herself, and bites some dude, and then jump cut. You ready for that? Woo! Jump cut to the professor in like a research room with the ballerina, and she's like just making noises until she turns into a werewolf and throws someone out of building. But like it's so sudden and it's weird because it happens from like the very top of the building. Like it didn't happen from like a window, it was like from the very top. After that, it jump cuts again to the professor and the science dude showing up to like some police blockade. He's like, "Whoa, you can't go in there." And the dude's like, "There's marsupial werewolves," and the cop is like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, let him through." And it's like, I don't think that's how that works. Anyways, they go to the town of Flo, which is where the marsupial werewolves are, and Flo is nothing but gross, if that makes sense. It looks like the average outback residence. Anyways, they get a formal greeting to the town of Flo. It's very beautiful. This is the master of greeters, by the way. I don't know his real name, so he's just the master of greeters. Anyways, he's like, "You want a shrimp on the bobby?" I'm not joking. Want to put a shrimp on the bobby? Oh, now I know they're Australian. That's what they say. That's what all Australian people say. You thought I was joking, huh? Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's not a joke. That's for real. And they're like, "Man, this old dude, like, he had like some gross hairy hand." He's like, "Man, that's bad. I don't like werewolves." So like, they just start like, I guess they like call the military pretty much, and then it jump cuts the little like camp inflow with Jaboa, and she like escapes, and it's like not even an eventful escape. She just walks away in the opposite direction to hide in like some shed, and she gives birth. And she's reaching into the marsupial pouch. I don't like this. I don't like this. The creamy ain't liking this. After she gives birth very grossly to a werewolf embryo looking thing, the ballerina shows up to the camp, and she's finally meeting up with the Shao Kahn dude. And let me just cut to the chase because it doesn't explain it until later why they even bothered to meet up. And it's for a really dumb reason. Marsupials survive in the pouch, while since she's like from Siberia, the wolves are different, you know, being born, and that's why they're not lasting that long. And then it just jump cuts again to boom, a fetus, werewolf fetus. Oh my god. What the hell, man? Anyways, Jaboa finds the dude, and she's like, "Yeah, check this out." And she like opens her pouch and shows him the baby. And he's like, "Oh my god, it's our baby." And it's like, nah, dude. I would be like, it cut to the camp where Shao Kahn is, and it's like staked out by the military, dude. And put on the 30 seconds to Mars, the kill right now, because absolute like sniper compilation. Just like this dude is in his compilation, dude. So after the military raid the camp, the professor sits down with the ballerina. He's like, "Why'd you come here?" And she kind of lore dumps like, but then he's like, "Hey," he's like, I'll rescue you." And then like he goes in for a kiss. Bro's trying to lose his medical license. Okay. Next jump cut is to Shao Kahn being tested on. They're like, "Oh, like how are you, blah 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 blah." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "You know, usually strobing lights turn me into a vampire." They're like, "All right, flash this dude in the eyes with strobing lights." So they proceed to like flash the dude in the eyes with strobing lights and turn him into a werewolf, only for them, you know, to not be prepared with a tranquilizer gun until the latest. So the professor gets attacked by the werewolf Shao Kahn, and he's the professor's friend, the science guy. He's like, "Man, look, you're gonna turn into one of them." And he's like, "Nah, you can't just turn into him from a bite."
Exchange of bodily fluids. No, I'm okay.
Yeah, he has to be nutted in first. You know, the professor then breaks like Shao Kahn and the ballerina out of like the research place, and then like they get chased, I guess, for going like 40 in a 30 by cops, and then they get lost in like the slowest chase ever, and then like it jump cuts to the baby werewolf. And here's the funny part, because they bait you. It jump cuts to it, and then boom, here's a group of dudes with guns. And then they're like, hold up, what's that sound? And then they just open fire. Just for it to be like, oh, it's a Joey, it's a little baby kangaroo, not a werewolf. A doy. Jump cuts again to the master of greeters. And he's like, hey man, I was talking to a spirit, and the spirit is like, you know, you gotta leave while you can. And then the dude is just like, oh, you guys really believe in a spirit? It was just in a dream. Like, dude, there's a werewolf, and she does bring up a good point. She does say that.
Did you believe in werewolves?
Anyways, after that scene, you see the professor show up to Flo, which spelled backwards is wolf. You see it in that little cutscene. I didn't notice it the first time because I'm stupid. It's wolf backwards. Wow. I literally couldn't have guessed because I'm stupid. Yeah, so they're like, man, like yeah, we're on the run. We're evading the cops because they're werewolves, and I stole them from the lab. And the old dude with the hairy hand is like, yeah, here, have a shotgun for protection. It then cuts to the master of greeters, and he's like covered in like Kratos like makeup, and he's like summoning like a wolf. He's summoning the spirit. And then like it cuts again to like all those Australian dudes with guns, the ones that lit up the Joey for no reason. It cuts to them, and they're like walking through the woods, and they hear a noise. They're like, you hear that? And then their guide is an Aborigine. He's like, fuck that, I'm out. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we'll give you $20.
Jacko. How am I gonna spend $20 when I'm dead? I'll give you $50.
And the beast that they hear isn't like any normal beast. It's the master of greeters. Yeah, you kind of see it in like the Kratos paint on the wolf. After he like finishes killing everyone, he dies anyway in full Kratos makeup anyway. The master of greeters is like found dead on a rock, and the first people to find him is the professor and the ballerina and Shao Kahn. And the professor is like, oh my god, he's dying, I know what to do. So he like starts dabbing like water onto his fingers and rubbing it on his lips, like, yeah, that's the cure for death apparently. And then you see Jaboa show up, and you know, she tells the master of greeters, she's like, look, you're gonna pass away, but you're gonna turn into a rainbow and then a mountain. And he's just like,
I'm just gonna die.
So after the master of greeter dies, unfortunately, R.I.P. master of greeters, they burn him. They burn his corpse. And then in the distance, you see the Red Ribbon Army, and they're like, they see smoke clouds. They're like, yup, those are the mofos we gotta murder. So then they go towards the smoke, and then they see like the skeleton of the master of greeters, and then like the skeleton goes rah, and like jumps at him. It's a pretty cool effect. This is my one positive take for the movie. I'm like, it's a literal skeleton. Cindy, it's a skeleton. It's bones. When it jump cuts and you see him, and he's covered in Kratos paint, like the master greeter. And then amazingly, are you ready for this? Can you guess what happens next? It jump cuts. It jump cuts to the Red Ribbon Army dude, and he's like, hey man, you good? And the other dude is in the tent, and he's just like, he's like dying and shit. And it's like, apparently there's no cure to death except for dabbing water on your lips. That's a good cure. He should have tried that. He's like writhing around in pain until like he's like, yeah, I'm good. Are you? And then he doesn't hear a response from the dude outside, and he like sits up. He like sits up like full strength. He's like, dude, are you good, dude? Like, dude, you were just dying a couple seconds ago, and then you just sit up. You're like, wow, like you're just gonna like, you're fine now. And then he hears a noise, and he's like, ah, shit. He's like, this MP40 is not gonna do the job. So he's just like, might as well just take out a fucking RPG. So he takes out an RPG, and he's like, man, I'm gonna scope this out. He's like, I need to make sure nothing comes to get me. And then you see the Shao Kahn. He's like in like a werewolf form. The dude's like trying to get gold on his RPG. Like he needs a point blank kill, and he just kills him. And then jump cuts from like the science dude talking to the president, the one that was like vlogging earlier. He's like, hey man, he's like, we don't know where they are. He's like, I don't really care anymore. Which I'm not joking. Like that's literally what happens. They stop caring. It after that scene, it's like an anime. It just time skips to them having a nice family. Like I'm not joking. It goes generations ahead, 15 years into the future. Just like, yeah, you know, fuck it, whatever. And here's my initial reaction after finishing the movie. That was fucking dumb. Well, past me. That's pretty accurate because I still have that opinion. That was this movie is so dumb, and not a good dumb like Puppet Master or like the Killer Bong or the Ginger Dead Man. Those are good bads or good stupids. Except for Puppet Master, I think that one's like the only solid one out of all of the Full Moon Pictures movies. But like this movie is just so dumb. It's stupid. Like it was funny with especially with him just sprint like. He's like, how did they find their romance? He's like, I just sprinted at her like full pace, like fucking. That was probably the funniest part of the movie. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the video, the first video for Spooktober. This has been one of my biggest projects on my channel. So I want to thank everyone that helped me. Thank you to Lil Megu for putting down all of my little avatars. Thank you so much. I know it's tedious work. That's why I didn't want to do it, but you know, homies help homies. So thank you, Lil Megu, so much. Thank you, Unzecker, for doing my work. He did the thumbnail for the video. He also did all my avatar pictures. Go check him out. I'll leave in the description his Instagram. His really good art. You know, check him out, please. Thank you for everyone that was here to actually finish the video. I know it's a very odd video compared to my other videos. It's not a video game. It's me complaining about a movie. And I want to thank you guys for watching it. And happy Spooktober. And I hope you guys stay tuned for the next following weeks. Thank you guys and have a good one.